And according to this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as public record. So we stand for pledge of allegiance. Ready again.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I got that ringtone too.
Mr. Bender's here, Dwayne Moore is here, Sonny is here, Mr. Rensselaer is here. We have any public comment?
No, we don't.
We don't need to read the disclaimer. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Lett, seconded by
Second.
Cindy. Sorry, Jennifer, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approve the specific plan package and educational specifications for Tropico Middle School.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for having me here. I'm Joselito Laxon. I'm the project manager for Fluwang and Moody for this project here, and so with the Rosemont Elementary School right now. We are here to present the preliminary plans, site plan, floor plans, and some interior elevations that we have come up so far for the Tropico Middle School expansion. I was made aware that the board has seen the site plan, but I can go ahead and describe it again and explain it since we've made one small revision since our last meeting. So, and then feel free to ask any questions while I'm explaining this, but the whole concept, the reason why we ended up doing the layout of the buildings this way are, maybe it's better if I just go here. Is because this was your existing field area right now at Tropico. So we felt that it was best to keep the buildings adjacent to the existing campus here. But that meant that we would have to come out. Your existing fence line right now is in this easement that you have. But that meant if we were going to put the buildings here, that we would have to expand all the way to your existing property line here. And this would, in essence, become your new playground area here. So all the way to the easterly-most property line of Tropical Middle School. The reason why we have this building sort of staggered in a certain pattern is because there are existing electrical lines that run from this vault all the way down to this area right here. There's electrical and low voltage communication. So it kind of runs through here. So we try to make sure that we avoid getting into any of those directions in those layouts. We are aware that there are some sewer lines that cross here, but that we will kind of figure that out once we get the as-built utility that we are requesting for to be surveyed. Obviously, if there are existing sewer lines that connect to this sewer line right here, those things will have to be relocated, removed and relocated. So basically, the whole project is consisting of 7 buildings. Each building has 4 classrooms in each building, and they are 960 square feet per classroom, which tells us that by code, we only need one entry and one exit for each of them. This gives us a total of 28 classrooms. In the first building over here, we have our two flex classroom buildings and two regular buildings. And then the second building, cluster of building here has the, one of the, sorry, what was the classroom again? The
SDC.
SDC, I'm sorry. SDC classroom here and here. So we separated them, one in each building. The rest of them are identical classroom buildings throughout. So based on the number of students that we have here, we obviously had to do a count on the plumbing fixture requirements that we need for all the additional children. So what would happen is we would have 4 additional toilet buildings. These are all based on modular buildings. The main classroom building, which I will show you in an elevation, and these are 12 by 40 modular toilet buildings. So by adding 4 of them, that creates the number of fixtures that we need per code. And then together with that, we will need 4 drinking fountains. Originally, I know it's small, but I indicated that one here, and I believe the other one was here next to building C. But when we walked the site with Raleigh, he prefers that we put the drinking fountain attached to the building somewhere outside here, because according to him, those freestanding drinking fountains have been giving him a problem lately. So we'll kind of make sure we address those items. So that is the layout that we have. The fire access, this is your existing fire access for all the gymnasium and all the main building schools right now. So what we're gonna have to do is add a fire access lane from this point on, because this is the end of your existing fire access. Come on, extend this, go all the way out here, and all the way around the building here to this point here. This will allow us to get all the fire requirements that we need as far as distance for the fire department. And then we anticipate having to put 2 fire hydrants, 2 new on-site fire hydrants, one here and one here, to address all the fire department requirements as well. So the other thought that we did was that this fire access lane that we are using off to the east side of the new buildings, we would create this as, it's 20 feet wide, so we would create, use the DG, decomposed granite as a driveway. And then what we did is we incorporated a walking track all the way around the existing field. So the children can use this as their track area. Obviously, this is a little thinner. This is only 10 feet wide all the way around here. And then as they come out to the fire lane, it's 20 foot wide, because that's what we need. But this is basically their new walking track here, all the way straight through. So we're kind of using it for 2 purposes, basically. And then this field area here, we feel that we'll be able to fit the 1 soccer field on the south side here. And this would be, we would put a backstop here and call this a field area, which based on this diagram here should fit for a softball field in the future. But we're gonna indicate and call it and just put a backstop here. Currently you have some existing storage bins that are located here. So we're going to take that and put it over here and just designate this as, this is existing dirt right now. We'll have to do some grading to it, minimal grading, but this is where you're going to be putting your, the proposed storage bin area. And then you have some shot put area here, I think, an existing shot put area here, and a long jump. So we are proposing we take that and move it over here as well. So it's out of the way, close to the hard court areas here. So that is The other thing that Raleigh requested was a trash enclosure for the new buildings. So we will somehow maybe incorporate it somewhere in this area right here. That's something that we will kind of work with Raleigh to make sure that we provide a new trash enclosure area, because I think his existing one right now is somewhere over here. So that's going to be way too far. They said it would be best that we put some, so we're going to work with Raleigh on that one. So, that is the overall layout that we have for the site plan. Any questions so far?
Ms. Anita, would you just explain the difference in the two flex classrooms and a regular classroom?
Okay, so we can move on to the next, should I do it here, Sally? The next sheet?
I can advance.
Okay. I can make it a little bigger here. Okay. So basically, we have two floor plans for the classroom. This would be your one building with 4 classrooms, which would be a typical classroom for each of the building. What we did is we have 4 identical classrooms here. Each classroom will have a small a sink with a cabinet here for each one. And then in the other 2 buildings, we had to incorporate 2 things. One is the fire sprinkler riser room, because we anticipate all these buildings will need to be sprinkled. The second one is an IT cabinet. Based on our recent project in Rosemont, I believe your IT department prefers to have individual IDFs for each building, which then they will home run to your MDF. Unless something changed, Dan and Sean and I will kind of figure that out, but I indicated a space for the IT cabinet, the fire sprinklers, and then each of the room will have your teaching workstation in front, where again, I'm basing all my IT requirements from the Rosemont Elementary, which you will have a short throw projector, interactive board here in front, and a floor box. So each one will have their own teaching wall for each classroom. So that's your typical building floor plan. The second floor plan includes the flex classroom. So 2 classrooms completely identical, and the other 2 classrooms will have your flex science, we call it flex science classrooms, where basically one end of the classroom will have built-in cabinets. On each side, I will have full height cabinets, and throughout here, you will have base cabinets with 4 utility sinks. So you guys can use them for science or art classes or whatever it'll serve. But we anticipate, or we feel 4 sinks per classroom should be sufficient enough. And I can show you the elevation. So on these 2 classrooms, we spoke to Raleigh, and he feels that VCT for flooring is probably the best for the use. For the rest of the classrooms, we will have carpet tile, because for maintenance wise, I think, again, your maintenance, Raleigh was saying that's the best use for him. In case anything, if he has to replace tiles, it's very easy and all that. We would have VCT, sort of a VCT entry area and a VCT area right by the sink, so it protects the carpet, and because it's VCT and all that. So very straightforward, but quite simple and all that. So if you move to the next slide. Any questions on the floor plan so far? This floor plan is your typical toilet building floor plan from a modular standpoint. It's 12 feet wide by 40 feet long. So again, here we have 4 buildings of this size. We have the girls' restroom, the boys' restroom, and then in the middle, we have the all-gender bathroom. So this will, 2 of these buildings will be exactly this floor plan with your plumbing chase in the backside. The 3rd building will have the girls, boys, and the staff restroom on the 3rd building. And on the 4th building, toilet building, will be girls, boys again, and the middle one will be custodial with a floor sink in it. So if you go back to the site plan, Sally, can you go back to the site plan?
Can you open that up on the screen up there, Tim? Can you grab the screen and go like this?
Not really. We tried it.
Oh, man, I thought that's what you could do with them fancy things.
You can.
Not in this application.
Oh, okay.
In general, yes, but in this application, it didn't work.
So these are the locations of the toilet building. I call it T1, T2, T3, T4. T1 and T2 would be only for the boys and girls, and in the middle portion, the all gender. So you would have it here, you would have it here. For T3, we would have, now these are back to back. So the entry to the restroom would be coming from this side, and then the entry to this bathroom would be coming from this side, because they're back to back. And then this is where the custodial room would be on T3. And we plan on doing the staff restroom over here. Now we can change that if you feel that the staff needs to be here or vice versa. But we felt that the custodial room would be best on this building right here, facing that way. So with the boys and girls. So that's a big salad. So we can go to any questions so far?
Yeah, let me ask you one stupid question.
Sure.
Is the all gender code, what's the all gender restroom?
Gender neutral.
I know, but
Yeah, yes.
is it code? Is something they're making us put in nowadays?
Let me double check on that, because that's fairly new, and I will let you know. But recently, we've been putting, I think DSA, instead of calling it unisex, they prefer you call it all gender.
All gender.
Yes.
And I can only say that at the high school, they had to create one. So it's better if we have one already
Yes.
in the plan, rather than us having to create one.
And in my recent projects with DSA, they just, when we indicate unisex, they just say, don't call it unisex, just call it all gender. For some reason, they prefer it that way. So this is the proposed exterior elevation.
I just want to know if it was code.
But I can check on that, and I'll make sure. This is the proposed elevations for the building. I guess the reason why I did it this way, because first of all, what I needed to do was kind of base it on the overall budget that was given to us, which was very important. So what I did is I did some estimate and numbers based on the recent Rosemont Elementary buildings. Now, obviously, those are AMS buildings, and the intent is for us to go out and present this to different modular companies. But that's a good basis for a comparison. I think it's best that we do the same foundation, which is concrete foundation. I think that's the best way to do it, with lightweight concrete flooring as well, and stucco building. That's what we wanted to do. Obviously, with metal roofing, since all of your buildings in Tropico right now have the red metal roofing, I suppose those are your standard roofing. the modular companies don't go with the same manufacturers that you guys go with, which is, forgot the name of the manufacturer. They did all the roofs for the Rosemont Elementary, the main buildings. But as you can see, they use the same specification, meaning metal roofing, with the new building that just was delivered. And it's very similar, very close to it, very similar. So, to try and keep the cost down, that's one of the things that we had to value engineer with Rosemont Elementary. So I based my design very close to how we did Rosemont, because first of all, the building, I think, looks fairly nice and it blended well with the existing buildings. To me, if you look at Rosemont right now, with the main buildings that we did compared to the ones that just came in, it looks like it's just a smaller version of all the buildings there, which is, I think, nice because it blends in with the entire campus. So my design thought was to follow that one. Each side of the building, this is your main entrance of the building. You would have your main entry door. And what I wanted to do was get as much window as I can on both sides of the classroom. So I indicated 4 by 8 windows, which is very similar to what we have there. One in the front of the classroom at the main entry, and one in the back side of the classroom to get as much light as we can into the classroom. This is just your main entry to each classroom, 1, 2, 3, and 4. On the back side, these are your windows for each classroom, and then this would be your HVAC units per modular classrooms. And then we would use the same synthetic stucco as we have over at Rosemont. And what I plan on doing was doing 2 colors for each building, a wainscot, which is at 3 feet 2 inches from the floor, because all your Tropico existing buildings has a wainscot there right now. So I would copy the color for the top portion of the building to match all the building, the color of the upper part of the building. And I think you have brick, some sort of a brick or CMU wainscot at the buildings right now. We would stick with stucco to try and keep the cost down, but we would match the color so it looks like it's a wainscot, just not the brick or the CMU wainscot that we have. Yeah. So that would be typical for the classrooms here. And here we would do the same roof pitch. So it's a gable roof with a 2 and 12 roof pitch, which is just right. It's got some roof identification to it. So this would be your side views. And then we would make sure we have all the LED exterior lights on each side, so it's well lit. The only thing I would need to make sure with Dan and Sean is if the district would like to kind of follow what we did in Rosemont, where we put exterior cameras on there, your exterior clocks and bells as well. So those are things that I have to work with the IT department to make sure that we get it in the drawing so we can create an overall budget for it. So this would be for all the modular classroom building. And this is based, by the way, on an approved PC from the modular. Again, I'm basing it on AMS, but when we send it out to bid, we will specifically tell them that it has to be based on an approved PC so we can try and keep the cost down. That's the most important thing. So going through DSA is not going to be that difficult. If it's not an approved PC, then it just prolongs and it becomes more expensive because they have to engineer it again. Same thing here. These are your toilet buildings. Unfortunately, I tried to check if they have a PC that has a 2 and 12 slope because I did want them to match as far as the roof is concerned, but they don't. Now, and again, I'm talking to AMS for assistance only. I don't know if other modular buildings have this approved PC in the same pitch, roof pitch. If we do, then that's fine. That works for us.
On the two center buildings, if they went, the ones bathrooms that are back to back,
Yes,
if each one had a pitch opposite of each other, it would give the illusion of.
a bigger one.
A bigger one.
That's something that we can work on. In fact, I already was talking to AMS because what I wanted to know is if I get two of these buildings and put them back to back, it creates a bigger building, which obviously would look nicer than a thinner, long building because you have two of this put together. So now it becomes a decent sized building. The only thing I need to do with that and make sure with it is when we send it out for estimates and bidding, we have to make sure that they have either a PC approved that they already put it back to back, and it doesn't increase the price compared to let's say purchasing one of these at 2 and 12 with the PC. So there's a little bit of research that I have to do.
Those will also have an HVAC on the backside, correct?
Yes, yes,
So-
well, let me double check on that, because the thing that we were talking to Raleigh about is that, he said heaters must be on this one, but I'm not sure, if technically, if AMS or any other modular company does put HVAC on each, but I will check on that.
Yeah, 'cause if there's no HVAC, and I don't know if there's a code that the buildings have to be so far apart from each other.
Yes, for seismic. Yes, we will check on that. All I know is when I spoke to AMS so far, is they were telling me, this is the PC design that they have. And if we go with two modulars back to back, they were still, I would still have to check with them if they have a PC that's that size building. And what it will create if we put them back to back. So if they say, yeah, it can be done, it's not that difficult, we can get through DSA fairly quickly with it, and I'll check on the heaters, the HVAC, we'll make sure it's all incorporated here. Right now, what we wanted to show everyone is that what we're sure about, to try and keep the overall budget for all these buildings, based on all these buildings. Because right now, based on the estimates that I did for Rosemont Elementary, those are fire sprinkler buildings. Those are the same, you've got the same finishes. It's coming out to roughly about $300 a square foot, plus or minus. So that's the price that we got from them. By the time we end up, if we push through, and by the time we end up and getting actual bids for this, you have to build in escalation and all that, so that might increase a little bit. Now, it's $300 a square foot, but we have some savings in there, which is two things. The windows that we use for the Rosemont Elementary are very expensive windows. Those are Kynar finish windows. Those were ordered in Michigan, and the reason why we did that, and I explained to Barbara, is because I wanted to make sure when we put the buildings there, the windows match with the rest of the buildings. Those were special windows and very expensive. So with this, what I'm proposing is we go with the aluminum frame standard modular windows that the modular manufacturers typically do, which is obviously going to cost less than what we have there. The second item over there is we have slope ceilings. That also was, I think, discussed with the board as far as value engineering. Because again, we want to match the existing classrooms over there. If we stay with the standard 9-foot ceiling, there's a significant savings there. Because the slope ceiling did add a significant cost there too. And you're talking about 7 buildings here against 3. So there's some savings that we can obviously come up with, and we'll figure that out as we keep moving forward. So basically, this is your exterior elevation. The only thing that's really missing here that I'm not showing are all the IT requirements that they might want. So if you move on to the next sheet. Any questions so far on the elevation? Go back one, Sally. This is our typical interior elevations. This is your typical classroom. So this is your teaching wall. Again, based on the finishes that we have, what I have down here is your FRP panel, like we typically do for most of the classrooms. And all this above here is tack board, again, for all the classrooms here. So and then you've got your vinyl baseboard around here. This is your teaching wall, and this is the same, sort of the same design we did for all of the classrooms in Rosewood, where you have your projection board here, 2 marker boards, your short throw projector, and then your floor box and everything. This is your typical Extron controls here. So again, very similar. Your standard clock on the wall here, and then the rest are just all the standard items we have, which is emergency lighting, signage, fire extinguisher, your windows, and then we have callouts for window blinds and all that. And then this is your cabinet with the sink, a little upper cabinet, and this one is either the fire riser room or the IT cabinet. So very straightforward as far as the interior elevation. This is your flex classroom. So again, the same finishes throughout, FRP, but on this wall, this is your base cabinet with all the 4 utility sinks. So you have base cabinets, 1, 2, 3, 4 utility sinks, and on each end, I put a full height cabinet for storage for whatever they use.
What type
So
of
that's-
countertops are they?
I'm sorry.
Are they Formica countertops?
Yes, yeah, right. And then so we would, and then all of this would be accessible. And then so Formica with backsplash and your tackable wall surface here. So that would be for our flex classroom. We have 2 of them. And then if you go to the next screen, and this is our typical bathroom layout. Based on the value engineering that we did with Roseman, I would do a 4-foot high wainscot of tile, and then the rest of it up here is FRP. In Roseman, what we did is we ran up the tile all the way up to the ceiling, but that was one of the value engineering, which cuts down quite a bit. So FRP panels on top, 4 foot of tile wainscot, and of course your flooring would be tile too. So that's pretty much what we need for. This would be for your, I believe this is the boys, the girls, and this is your all gender bathrooms here for the elevations. And then we can tweak a few things here and there as we keep moving forward. But I think what we wanted to present is, if the board approves what we have so far, then we can put all the drawings together necessary so we can submit it to CDE as soon as possible. So I think that's the big push right now, is to get it into CDE. Any questions so far?
Ms. Benito, did I just hear you say that at RES, we have the restrooms, the tile all the way from floor to ceiling?
The original design, before we finalized our bid with AMS, had the tiles all the way up to the ceiling. But
I thought we had to cut that.
Yes, we did,
Okay,
and it's exactly like this. You have a 4-foot wainscot tile,
okay.
and then the rest of the wall is FRP.
It was just wishful thinking that,
I think if I'm not mistaken, I did the Hamilton, well, we used to call it Hamilton, but the Rosemont, the main building. If I'm not mistaken, I'll go look at my drawings again, but I think all the bathrooms there have tiles all the way up to the ceiling, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So, that's why originally when I did the modular buildings, I wanted to duplicate everything, but it's, we have to go back and forth and see what we would say.
Almost like a $50,000 savings.
yeah, it was, remember?
Yes,
We gave on that, I remember.
yeah, it was quite a bit.
Robert, I just wanted to ask you, do you want to, tell the board the good news or, well, not, the news we received the past couple of days from CDE? Yes, sir.
So we've been given a slight reprieve on timeline, instead of before the end of this calendar year. They're willing to push it back until, January. Give us about another month or so to, take a half a breath. I would say a deep breath, but
Yeah, we don't wanna stop what we have in place, but they basically said, continue on and don't worry about that December, you don't have that December deadline, so.
Who said that?
CDE. We have that, we have that in writing.
Let's still push towards the December note.
Yeah.
We're pushing there for sure, we're not gonna let
Yes.
up on anything,
Yes.
but it is nice to know that we,
I can breathe better too.
not much.
But
Just kidding.
in all honesty, my understanding from all our meetings, Barbara, from when we started all this, is our push is to get all the drawings that we need to CDE by next month.
Yeah.
We weren't
Absolutely.
anticipating December or
No,
anything.
no, we-
No, we still want to try to do that.
Yeah, we
Which
still wanna
which
do
is
that.
our intent, is to
Yes.
get it in by next month.
I just wanted them to know so they would
Okay.
understand a little bit that maybe just kind of breathe a little sigh of relief and understand that we possibly can pull this off.
Not just you guys. No, that's fine. I'm glad they gave you that extension, but it is our full intent to submit this next month.
Yeah, and they made that very clear too, but
Yeah.
the time, relaxing of the time was evident a little bit in there.
And that's why we wanted to get it into CDE as quickly as we can too, because, we don't really know what their comments would be with the overall site and how much buildings we are adding and all that. So the sooner we get it in, the sooner we can address those concerns if they ever come back with any.
Okay. Yes, at this point, I would,
Can we go back to the plot plan? Just a couple of thoughts. I don't know
Sure.
if we're
we're going to begin.
beginning.
Okay.
Now, I was just thinking, being many years active in the community with sports that use our fields, if there's any way we could move the soccer field and the baseball field to the front lot,
Oh,
Okay,
is
there's
there a problem with that?
Yes. One of the things that we're looking into, we don't know yet, is whether or not county is gonna make us widen Rosen Boulevard and Tropico. If we build on the other lot, anything, we have to make the improvements to the streets.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that we looked at about, whether or not county is gonna force us to do more improvements. Not, the state will not, but county may do it. By staying on our original footprint, it's just an improvement to the school, not the overall.
So we're gonna be going into traffic impact.
Right. Yeah, because if we move, eventually,
Eventually, it's gonna have to be done.
it will have to be done. And we will be building, the original plan was to put all the buildings up there. And then we would put like 2 baseball diamonds down the bottom with a football field across the center to really make it a sports complex for the middle school. That's gonna have to wait because we are very minimal on the amount of money that we're getting.
Okay.
And are we getting hooked up to, is there any word on the reclaimed water from the water district? Or
Not
is this
yet.
all on well?
This is, actually, we're hooked up to RCSD and well. We got both because we're doing all our irrigation off the well.
Okay, and that's fine, it's.
Yeah.
Keep it that way as long as you can.
Right.
I think our intent, if everything works out, as far as the Roseland community is, you've got a water line running in your easement here. So we will do our best to try minimize it. The shorter the connections are, the cheaper it will be.
Right.
So that's the intent. So by putting the buildings here too, you have sewer here, you have water here. So hopefully the connections will be, short and not that long. The other thing too, the other thing is I haven't shown this to my civil engineer yet because I was trying to get everything ready. But with all these improvements that we're doing here, and I know you mentioned this, Mario, is we only have the retention basin here, which is I think was designed for this. So with all these improvements that we're doing here, you'll have to tell me, is that good enough? Or do we do something different? So it might be in this area, I don't know.
Right, I mean, because to actually plumb drains all the way to the retention basin may be more costly
Yes.
than just putting one at the end of the field.
Yes. So, no, I understand what you're saying, and I had a conversation with him earlier this week, and I told him, the reason why we're meeting today, and I told him if the board approves it, I call him first thing tomorrow morning and let them start taking a look at this, because we need to kind of figure out what the impact will be.
And are we figuring, you said that we're gonna use DG for the walking track area,
Yes,
but right there at the corner, at the easement, on the bottom by the gym right there, that
Yeah,
area?
yeah.
I think that needs to be paved.
well, as, I think in our last meeting with Matt, see, this is all fire lane.
Right. And I think,
This,
A fire lane's gotta be paved, right?
well, we don't know yet, we're
we're
trying to
checking
figure
with
it out.
the fire department, to see if they.
Yeah.
can. I kind of really think that we should
We
pave it.
should.
Okay, all
You
right.
know how much rock you're gonna have inside your buildings from the kids?
That was
Yeah,
my other,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
either in the middle there, we need to either concrete it or asphalt it.
You mean this area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
I mean, that one, right?
that one area up on top at least,
This one,
where the kids will be walking and stuff.
because this is your existing walkway right now.
Right.
So what I was doing, and again, we're trying to minimize the cost as far as hardscape is concerned, because we don't even have, other than a few trees here, we don't really have landscaping indicated here, but obviously I needed to show path of travel. Path of travel from your existing walkway, which ends here, so I extended it out here, so I have path of travel to all the buildings here. You have an existing concrete that kind of goes like this, so I connected it here with a walkway. Now, if those are your wishes, then yes, we would have to look at this and see how,
See what the cost is.
yes, exactly,
I mean, it may not be cost effective right now,
yes.
but
Yeah, but when is it going to be?
Oh, I know, that, but,
Never.
so we need to,
So we really need to do what we need to do for future growth too, I mean.
Yep. I have a
whatever-
question.
I mean,
For the classrooms that have like the sinks and the counters, will there be eye wash stations in there in case they're using it for science or something?
That's a good question. We have done, in my elevations, I don't show an eye wash. And I think one of the reasons why we spoke to you about that, Barbara, is because we're concerned on how CDE and maybe DSA will look at it. When you put an eye wash in there, that means you have a lot of chemicals that you store in there. So when you have a lot of chemicals that you store in there, all of a sudden the requirements of the building jump up. You know, do you have this? Do you have that? Because they'll think, well, you have to show me what solutions, what chemicals you store in there because you have an eye wash. That means there's a reason for the eye wash. In case something happens, you soak yourself right away. So that's the reason why we called it flex classroom, because we didn't want to show them
Okay.
that it's, you know, a full-blown science classroom.
We could possibly use it for robotics, art, project lead the way, different things like that
Okay.
without red flagging that we're gonna have heavy chemicals. in it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I think the other item too is that once this layout is approved, we'll get going on some estimates and all of that and see where it all falls in with the overall budget schedule for the site. Once we get into it, if there's uncertainty as far as the cost and all that, like we did with Rosewood, we can put certain items as bid alternates. So we can call fire lane, asphalt this thing to a certain point, we'll call it bid alternates as we go on. So that way, it's a competitive bid when we get it in, and if it works out and it fits in the budget, then it's a bid alternate.
okay,
is, now our property line, is that, there's, the trailer park is right on the other side of that now,
Yes,
right?
It's
So
down
we're
here.
basically locking all that stuff in the back. Once we put that fence up, there's no growth. So there's no way anybody can get to the back.
Right.
It's gonna all come through the front. So all our traffic flow is gonna be into the building this way, into the whole school.
I'm
On
not,
the three corners, or the two corners. That's the only way people are gonna enter into the school.
yes.
The other ways are blocked off. That's why I was just thinking about the fields, because that gives us room for, if we ever want to do a bus lane to the back of the school, we could do it, but I understand the traffic impact fees, they can be huge.
they are extremely. I think when we,
But if it's something we can look into, I mean, I don't want to waste time. If it takes the, don't want to waste. I like this is nice. But if there's any way we could have moved them to the front lot now, it would save us money in the future.
Well, one of the things that I think you mentioned too is we will need to reach out to Kern County and find out what improvements they will be looking at. So by showing them the site plan, maybe they can give us some input right away.
yeah, you don't wanna have to improve 2 streets.
No.
That's huge.
Wait. The only other comment I want to make is that when you're talking about having chemicals in those rooms, it also means you've got to identify on the outside of those buildings.
Yeah.
Certain amounts of chemicals, so the less chemicals we're storing in those rooms, the better off we're going to be. And also, you're going to need MSDSs to go along with it. In each classroom, any kind of chemicals you're storing. And then the other thing is that we used to use portable eye washes, which you can buy. They're not that expensive. I can't say that today.
They're not that expensive, but you gotta keep them up to date.
That's just it.
Okay. So right now, all we need to do is get a motion and give it
Make
a
a
go.
motion to get them moving.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Bender, seconded by Liz Select. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5 ayes. Okay, anybody have any questions at all? And we can adjourn.
Time to adjourn, I'll move to adjourn.
You too. You're a beaten bomb.
Sorry.
Motion by Liz Select, seconded
Second.
by Hepburn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And time it is.
Exciting.
Doesn't matter, at least we're out of here.